the Sequential Prophet VS. I've had this for quite a while, and it's been ill lately, not terminally ill, but it's been sick enough for me to not being able to use it for a while. And I decided it's time to get it to the doctor's office and give it a major overhaul. So I wanted to replace the power unit, the PSU, with a modern one. I wanted all the takt switches to be swapped out for a new set of switches. I wanted a new OLED display in here, and I wanted everything to be as new as possible. So I took it to a tech, Trond Gribbestad Lund, who did a fantastic job, by the way, with this. And a huge shout out to him, and a huge shout out to Anders Jensen, who actually shot the repair day on video. Let me show you what this VS has gone through lately. I got this new power supply from Syntronics.de. This is a custom-made power supply for the Prophet VS. I'll get back to that shortly. And a complete set of new takt switches and OLED display. You can find that easily online these days. And here's the VS right before surgery. You can see all the parts lined up. And you can see the power supply here to the left, the OLED display, a bag of takt switches and whatnot. We're going to need to make this work again. So the first order of the day is to replace that old power supply, and there's a lot of components that need to go out. The transformer, capacitors, some chips, etc. has to be yanked out to make room for that new PSU. And that includes, of course, the old bulky transformer and most of the components you see upper left here on the PCB. The capacitors, the voltage regulators, even the cooling rib has to go out. And here's the transformer being unscrewed from the chassis. And here it is in all its old glory. And of course, to get access to the components on the PCB, to desolder them, we have to gain access to the underneath of the PCB. And so with access to the underneath, we can start to desolder the components. Old solder doesn't always flow as easily as new solder, so to remove components with old solder, you sometimes have to apply new solder to get better access or better flow so that the solder sucker can easily get it out. In this case, the cooling rib below actually ate too much heat, so he had to take that off to be able to continue removing the components. So good riddance to old capacitors, voltage regulators, and all the things you no longer need. This new power supply is waiting to go in. And always do good cleanup when soldering, and this tech is highly professional and he does everything by the book. Very happy to see that. And here it is, every component gone out. Now it's the time for the new power supply. And everything comes included with this kit. The isolation brackets, all the standoffs, extra components, etc. It's all included in this pack from Syntronics.de. Very happy about that. And the documentation left a little bit to be desired. It was a little bit confusing at times, but we worked it out and it's almost done. And here it is, super compact, noise-free, doesn't overheat, very clean. Very happy about this. Now moving on to the OLED display and the takt switches. It means removing these two top PCBs. And this is where an accident happened. This cable here holding these two boards together, it just broke off. It's old, brittle plastic. These are known to fail. And so Trond, the tech, had to solder on wires for each of the patch points. Time consuming, but necessary. So desoldering this old display. And here's the new display. The old one was almost unreadable at this point, so a new display had to be fitted. There was no way around it. So let's get this soldered on. And of course, flux, cleaning, part of the job. And on to the tact switches, and there's a lot of them. You just have to roll up your sleeves and start on the first one and just work away methodically through each and every one. Desoldering first, getting the old one out, and cleaning again, of course. And then finding the right one in the pack of switches and see if it fits. And then you have to solder that on. 500 days of summer. And that's one, and there's 50 more to go. And after a while, here's all the old ones. Here are the components from replacing the power supply. And here's the old transformer, and there's a lot of things left over here going to the bin. One chip that is known to fail in the Prophet VS is the CEM5530. There are two of them in the Prophet VS. These are 30-channel multiplexed sample and hold circuits. And new old stock of these are almost impossible to find now, but thanks to Straylight Engineering and Tom Virostek, I now have two clone chips that he makes, which makes my Prophet VS even more ready for the future. And here it is, my Prophet VS with its new OLED display, blue on black, looks very sleek and stylish. New tact switches, so much fun. The old ones were really glitchy, and now it's like brand new. And here it is with my Behringer BCR2000 controller with my Prophet VS Sysex template. It's easier to program sounds on the Prophet VS from a controller, and this is really all I need to get some nice patches going. Let's check out a little bit. Change the filter cutoff, resonance, the different waves for the 4 different parts of a sound patch. Everything is now programmed into the Behringer controller here. And again, there's so many parameters in the Prophet VS, so having a controller on hand is sometimes a real time saver on a synth like this. So that's how the cookie crumbles. Now I can enjoy the VS for many years to come without worrying about glitchy switches and a almost unreadable display and a super hot power unit. Now it's really nice and clean, and it just sounds wonderful as always. So thanks for watching. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment section, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!